cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, RVs, and ATVs. Whatever it is you want to buy, West Tennessee Bank has money to lend with very competitive interest rates and terms flexible enough to meet almost any budget. West Tennessee Bank, a division of Decatur County Bank. We think you'll like us. Equal housing lender member FDIC.
There's a quorum present, so we'll go ahead and proceed to the meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
We have a motion second to approve our agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed no, and that is approved. The first thing on here we're going to look at is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion for
Make a
it?
motion to approve.
We have a motion second to approve the consent agenda. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Right, that is approved. Next thing is going to be delegations, and I do believe we have a delegation here tonight.
Bishop Chuckman, come on up. Go. Yeah, you can address them. This is Lisa Bishop, representing her family. Chris is with her and daughter. Yeah, daughters, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Well, these are the guys that make the decisions to honor your request.
Okay. I have a request as there is in the handbook countywide about piercings, nose piercings, lip piercings, and so on. My daughter has her nose pierced. You can barely see it. My request is that she be able to wear either a clear, where you can't see it blends in with the skin,
Or a blue, like
or blue for school colors. Like I said, I understand that it's countywide, that it's not approved, or it's a distraction.
But, I mean, it would be no more distracting to have that as some kid walking around with bright yellow tennis shoes or.
I mean, I've already seen.
What?
I've already seen students with their ear pierced all the way up into the cartilage, and that was approved or it was okay. I've seen in the high school, lips pierced, nose pierced, males with big gauges in their ears.
I don't think you've seen in high school.
There's kids that sneak around. I mean, yeah, not all kids gonna be.
Not all of them, I mean, there's a few. I mean, they've got things they call snake bites with the earrings right here in their lips.
And I'm sure if they get caught, they have to take them out.
But she's taken it out as she wears it to school, and she is abide by the rules and has taken it out, and she was asked. But when she comes home, she puts it back in, and the very next day, she's got an infection from taking it in and out, in and out, in and out. But my request, please, is to either let her have a clear one,
All kids.
not just her, but all the kids that have that, instead of taking it out and causing an infection going in and out.
I mean, we make policy and I don't think we need to change it.
If you start changing it, then you're gonna have somebody do something else and something else.
Just make a
And if it's
motion, we
not,
leave
if
the
it causes
policy
an
like that.
invasion, what do you want the child having it for anyway?
I make a motion to deny the request.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. To leave the policy as it is, no changes, no discussion. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Next, we have the celebrations.
Well, this is an opportunity for us to celebrate the work that was done this summer and in recent years past. We have a few educators here from Eastchester representing the Tail-End Group. There is a certificate that I've got posted in a frame here for everybody to see, but there was a Tail-End Tennessee Early Literacy Network had a conference this summer, and again, Mr. Randall helped facilitate or lead this group to establish this work toward improving our early literacy. And fortunately for us, Brittany contacted me this summer to ask if I would mind attending the conference, because Chester County Eastchester Elementary was invited to be one of 4 school districts across the state to present at the conference. They did a great job with the conference presentation. You're going to see a little snippet of it tonight. Tonight with us is Miss Brittany Lewis and Annette Garrett. Connor, I'm sorry. And also, so I just don't, Diane Holdren / Johnson, or did you drop the slash? Is it just Johnson now?
I'm just Miss Diane.
Oh, Miss Diane. Okay. Well, I can't keep up, I'm sorry. But if you ladies would come up and present to the board some of the successful things that are going on with early literacy in East Chester.
Mr. Google, I might need him. I call him Mr. Google.
I turned it in.
It's fine if you call me Miss.
Okay, I will now. I'm grabbing all last names.
Elementary, we just go by first.
That's the way we roll.
This may come up in just a second, so I'll give it a minute.
Some of the lights over there.
I'll do what you can,
Give me just a second. Not too much.
It's okay, because some of this you won't understand anyway. So you I don't know if it's I'm just saying the data, they won't understand because it's our school, so they won't only if you were, that's what I meant. You guys are very intelligent. I just meant the data that goes with our school is what you won't understand. Hey, well, I'm the first one talking anyway. Real quick, yeah, we got asked, was it 2 years ago in September? I think was about right. Mr. Fenmore should be up here. To be a part of TELN. Originally it was Becky Welch and I were the initial 2 team members, and then was it at Christmas we added 3 more, which was Annette, Diane, and Melissa Allen. Becky and Melissa are at a cross-country meet, I think, depends on the weather. So that was kind of the start to our journey. The first thing that's going to come up is just some statistics about why we initially joined this initiative. It was the part of the Read to Be Ready, and there's just some statistics that we're going to look at.
We're searching here.
Oh, it's fine. I just don't like to ad-lib here.
Should be already done. Oh, it makes a difference when you don't have that. It's got to be up here too. That makes a difference. Yep. Now it should not be.
How many people does it take?
There we go.
There we are. All right. So this summer we were asked to present kind of our work that we had been doing for the last 2 years with our TELN group at East Chester. This thing you have to go backwards. Oh wait, it's on now. There we go. Okay, these are the stats we were looking at. The original goal of Read to Be Ready was to have 75% of our 3rd graders proficient and advanced in reading by the end of 3rd grade. Over 97% of readers fall below that in if they fall below that in 3rd grade, they are still not proficient by the time they get to 5th grade, which I'm sure you see some of that at your school. So that was our goal, was to have these 3rd graders proficient and advanced in reading. And I forgot to put the year, but I think it's 2025. Does that sound right, Mr. Wood? So that was kind of the reason that this was all started. So we joined the Tennessee Early Literacy Network to kind of jumpstart that. If children are not proficient and advanced by 8th grade, then 92% will not reach that ACT college ready benchmark. And then this is just a quick stat about that kids or students that leave directly from high school with just a high school diploma, that's their annual salary. So you can see why early literacy is important and why we're trying to get our kids college and career ready. And then, yes, that's your turn. The back, yeah, that one. There you go.
Okay, in the spring of 2018, our ELA core consultant helped us do the first of many literacy learning walkthroughs in our school, and the results that we ended up with are just devastating to us. 70% of our questions ones are aligning questions and tasks to the rigor of the standards being taught. We had weekly tele meetings where we wanted to check our questions and see that they were the valid questions we needed for those upper bucket ones. 71% upper bucket questions for the winner of the literacy learning walkthroughs was what one of our goals was. And by the end of the year, literacy learning walkthroughs, we wanted 79% upper bucket questions. So school-wide, our goal was 78% upper bucket questions by the end of the school year for literacy learning walks. So we looked at what we needed to do from there, and we began with our question protocol in September and got off track. This is where we took our students' work and started looking at the outcome of that and not really focusing on our questions. So we had to refocus in January and start all over again on our questions. And this is where we had the core team members help us with a checklist where we were checking our questions with fidelity. And we learned the characteristics of high-quality questions through this, and that our daily tasks should build to the culminating tasks. That's where it leaves for Diane.
Dana Savage, with the literacy walkthrough, she would come through, and at first we found out that we had, like she said, it was 77% lower bucket. The next time that she came in early fall, we had already up to almost 67% upper bucket. But that was through a lot of work. We met weekly. We brought our questions that led to tasks, more rigorous tasks. We found Mr. Fenmore helped us to learn how to write that. Dana would come and meet with us at those meetings, and then we would try to design questions that would lead to the children to be able to answer those tasks and the questions. And so the next time that we met in January, we had 75% upper bucket when she came back through again. Also, we had, if you can see the slide around it, on this one here, the questions were still not sequenced the way they should be for the students to deepen their understanding. Spring 2018 and then fall, there was a little bit of an increase right there. One of the things that we, when we met, we're trying to decide how to evaluate our questions, how to make them better. And Dana and Amanda from Southwest Core designed a tool that would help us with that. It's a checklist, and this is part, this is the other part, and they spent a lot of time designing that, and we would use this to design our questions to meet our tasks daily, whether it would be reading, science, or social studies. And we met every week. We critiqued each other's questions. We went through the checklist and we evaluated, and Dana would come in and help us, and we saw improvement. We would share with our, collaborate with our other teachers or grade level, and that we started seeing improvement with that. Also, I'll go back. I was going to say that, that Ms. Kim allowed us to have professional development also. We met weekly on Wednesdays after school, and we met with a group. Each teacher on the talent team had a group of teachers that we helped lead through the checklist and show them how what we had been doing to spread through the school. So we really feel like that it has helped everybody in our school at East Chester.
And that was, I think, what the next slide was. This is just kind of talking about the PLCs that we led with our other teammates at school. We were kind of divided up, and so that was just a good way for us to share with them what we had been doing so they could incorporate it into their classrooms. And then this was when they came back in the spring of this last year, right? No. This was the original, so you could see. This is just a repeat of that first slide. So you can see where we started at our very first literacy learning walk, and then to our end of year goal when she came in April of this last year. We had exceeded our goal of when we of 83 for 83% when our goal was 78. So this just shows that over the 2 years that we had, what we were doing was working, and so that was really exciting for us to see these numbers in April when we got our final learning walk. And then this is just some final thoughts that we have loved doing this. We can imagine now not doing the work that we've been doing, incorporating these things that we've learned with our questioning and tasks, and how we hope to continue that throughout this school year. We're hoping to get to have PLCs again once school gets to normal. Right now it's still crazy and, you know, the beginning of school, but we hope to be able to continue this. And then this is kind of where we're headed. Our next goal is to work on student ownership. That was some things that came back from our learning walks, was that our ownership needed work. I know y'all ready for us to stop. So, but quickly, the states too. This was Mr. Kilzer when he came to support us. That was nice to see a friendly face in the audience of, but I don't know how many people that we did not know. So that was nice. And then these are just some pictures of some fun we had throughout our time with Mr. Fenmore and all that. So thanks for supporting us and helping us get the things we needed to do this. So.
Thank you, Ms.
Don't
Brittany.
tell my
Ms.
husband
Well, guys, from the board, I just want to say it's always wonderful when we see so much enthusiasm for what you're doing, and we really appreciate y'all. I promise you, everybody on the board thinks y'all are doing a great job, and y'all are greatly appreciated. Can I get an amen down there?
Yeah. So what's happened? Y'all just got students to thinking. I mean, that's what it's supposed to do, is just got them to think.
They don't like to think.
No. Good.
It's been very rewarding.
Good.
Anybody else? Anything?
I'm just setting up the next one. So
The next thing on our agenda is the selection of chair and vice chair, and this year it's not going to make a difference because there's no election, but I think next year it should be in September, correct?
Yes.
Okay. At this time, I'm going to turn this over to Dwight to do for the chair.
Okay, the floor is now open for nominations for chairman.
I make a motion to elect Bob Moore, chairman.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other nominations? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. And next, we're going to have a nomination for vice chair. I have a nomination.
I nominate Dwight Bingham.
I second that.
We have a motion and second for Dwight being the vice chair. Any other nominations? And all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Congratulations again, Dwight. All right. Then the next thing we're going to do is our district school accountability recognition. And Mr. Gilsey, you got some slides for that event?
Yes, sir. I've got two gentlemen here that are just going to be giddy and just quite engaged. They both wear ties. They're almost Twinkies tonight. Mr. Stephen Maurice, and I can give last names. Mr. Stephen and Mr. Randall are here.
Working with that for a number of years, and Stephen's come on and taking on a good part of that load, helping to get to present. I'm going to start off this evening with Ed Stevens. It's not wanting money, is it? I thought you were the technology guy. Our Chester County District Result came out and just simply saying we were scored as advancing. What does advancing mean? There are 4 categories, and the top category is exemplary. We missed that by a little bit. We're in the second category, which means advancing. If you're advancing, or in the, whatever I just said that other one was called, for skills. Exemplary, then it means you're doing the job that you're supposed to be doing. Our goal is to get to exemplary, but we've just got a few things, and we'll look at a few little roadblocks that are holding us back from getting a number of points, because the formula for getting there is extremely complicated. It's not just any one thing. When you look at the district achievement determinations, we can see some of the areas where we have problems. They look at the district AMOs, that was the goal we had to reach for the different category, their absolute performance, what we actually did compared, not really compared to everybody else, but kind of that way. And then they look at value added, how much growth we had in our district. And if you look, anything that's green or blue is very good. The trouble comes in when you get some yellow, oranges, and reds. And in particular, you can see the area that we have to continue to work on is chronically out of school. We thought that we do have a better grip on it than what we did, but we've still got to make some improvements in that chronically out of school, reducing those students that are missing 10% or more of the school year. When I started in the school business, that was virtually unheard of. But today, that's just not true. We have a large percentage of students who miss a lot. So we're working, we have reduced that, but we've got to make some more work on that. The biggest challenge, Mr. Captain will back me up on this because he spends a big part of his day working on it, is with the high school kids. They have kind of come through the school and developed habits sometimes of not being good attenders. They're up in their teenage years, and it's hard to break that habit that's been established with them. But we're going to keep working on that. But we have other grade levels too that have plenty of room for improvement. Our subgroup determination, which comes down, you see the 3 different subgroups that they look at the top, and we're doing pretty well with all of those with the exception of economically disadvantaged. If you go across the district, it'll be approximately half the students that fall into economically disadvantaged, and those students are not achieving at the rate, especially at 9 through 12, and they are the ones that we're having the greatest trouble with on their chronically out of school, and they are the ones we're having the greatest trouble with on our graduation rate. Now that graduation rate lags a year, and I believe that our results for this year that will count next year are considerably better. Last year was kind of we've been up, we took a dip down, and I think we're going to bounce back, and that's going to look much, much better next year. Now, looking at it grade level by grade level, students are broken into 4 categories. They're called basic, approaching, on track, and master or advanced. And those top 2 categories, again, are saying those students are at or above grade level. Right now, in 3rd grade language arts, we've got 44.7% of our students, based on the test that's given in Tennessee, which is a very difficult test, that are on track or master. And I ache for the day that we can pass that 50%, and we're continuing working on it. Compared to the state, we look pretty good, but we're still not getting to all the students we need to. So that's the reason we do the work like TLM was doing. And these students that are coming up from a younger age, we hope we'll have them prepared to where they will be at a higher level. In the middle school language arts, we're at 43.3% on that scale. At the junior high, we've got 37.1. You can see somewhat that it kind of tends to fade down as you go up the grades. That's true pretty well across the state, but also the younger students have somewhat of an advantage in that some of the new strategies that are about teaching them to think or making them think, they've been exposed to, where the older kids, it came after they passed those grades, so they have a little bit of a disadvantage. Now, Mr. Stevens, since we're not using last names. Mr. Stevens, I forgot about I'm a language arts guy, so I can forget about math. Our math at 3rd grade is at 48.5%. We're knocking on the door of passing that 50% and hope to be able to do that. We've actually made some readjustments, which you approved, in how we're doing some coaching and stuff in order to assist in pushing us over that. In the Chester County Middle School, our math is at 64.9%. That is definitely, they haven't released the results yet that tell what every district does, where you can look at it and see where you stand compared to everybody. But in a 4th, 5th grade situation, that is going to be among the best in the state of Tennessee, and there's no doubt about that. And quite frankly, socioeconomics play a big part in all of education, and almost all of the districts that might be above us are going to be places like Germantown, Arlington, these places to where they don't have anything but mansions in the town. You know, it's very, very successful people with very, very successful kids. Now, at the junior high, our math is at 40.3, but we've really made some major progress at junior high math in the last year. That number, I think, is going to continue to go up. We've identified some areas that we need to focus on in order to get that number higher, but there was a lot of progress made and moving that. The same group of kids wouldn't have been anywhere near that across that school in the last few years. They are much better than what they were. And, you know, the only downside is Mr. Maurice only taught math 1 year over there. He got that number come up, then he jumped ship and came over here to help us. Mr. Maurice, now you can talk about the high school.
All right, so I'm excited to share with you the high school data because I think it's going to continue the trend that we've seen with the rest of the data and that we've seen great success this year. If we look at our achievement data, again, keeping in mind what Mr. Fenimore said about greens and blues being those things that you want to see, Chester County High School is doing a tremendous job. And in compared with other districts, we're definitely showing some success. One of the things I did want to mention was that U.S. history score at the bottom, which is almost double the state average for on-track and mastery at the high school. I believe we were ranked 3rd in the Southwest Core region for U.S. history and 15th in the entire state, which was amazing. Wonderful scores to brag on. On the geometry, one of the things we have to consider is geometry. That particular cohort of students, their top tier level of students, this was the last group of students that actually received Algebra 1 at the junior high school. So this group is missing the top tier of their cohort. Now that particular cohort, their growth numbers were in the single digits for Algebra 2, is that correct? Algebra 1.
Algebra 1, they were at about 1.5%. So those geometry teachers that looked like maybe they didn't do a good job there, actually did a miracle.
They went from
because
2%,
they took a 1.5% and made them a 20.3%. They are highly to be commended.
And they are not far behind the state average of on-track and mastered. So that, to me, that is also a commendable area for our success at the high school. Moving on to look at growth at the high school. Again, those greens and blues are what we want to see. And speaking with Dr. Catlett, he has suggested that there are areas to improve, and he suggested that his staff, his leadership team, they're working on a culture of success and ensuring that all students have an opportunity to show academic progress. We've got a lot of level 5s on that board, and so we've got a lot of successes, but the data also shows us our areas that we can focus on and hopefully improve upon next year.
Even again with that geometry, you see they had that 20%, which was the lowest of any of those on the other. But here, when it comes to how much those students grow, they're 5. They're as good as you can get. You can't get rated any higher than that. Looking at the lower grade on their growth, how much the students actually show that they learn. Please give me one more if you would, Mr. Maurice. Is we see that we have some very good results, but we have some areas that we know that we need to work on as well. In language art, we're doing at least what is expected of us, which is a 3 at every level, and we're at 5 or 4 or 5 in several other levels. Very, very impressive that in the 7th and 8th grade, they achieved a level 4 of growth. We have not been seeing that historically. That is something that is turned and going very much in the right direction. On the math side, it's easy to identify that 6th grade is an area that we're going to be focusing a lot of attention on this year. It's always difficult for students. Statistics across the nation, probably around the world it would be true, but across the nation tell us that the trend will always be, now you can overcome the trend, but the trend in schools will be if you leave one building and you go to another building, You will not do as well the first year in the new building as you did the last year in the old building. They also have, 6th grade has a little bit of an extra burden to bear because we've got one of the top 5th grades in the state. So they're having this huge growth, and 6th grade's having to pick them up after a great big year, and it's also more difficult to get big growth 2 years in a row. I mean, you have a big year, the next year it's hard to have reproduce that again. But we have looked and we've identified some things that we're going to work on, and I do believe that that is going to become up. They've already been, Miss Emmons been over there working with them regularly in the last 2 weeks to make sure that we catch that on the front end and get it moving in the right way. I'm confident that it will be better this next year. Math at the 3rd grade level, a little lower than what we want it to be. We're going to continue to work on that, and hopefully we can step that up. It's not as big a deficit as we're seeing in the 6th grade, but still, that's something. And you know, it is amazing. Again, I told you, when you leave one building and go to another building, the trend is always going to be you're not going to do as well as you did the year before. But in Chester County, we have this miraculous thing going on that when they come to the 4th grade, they do as well or better than they did. And that really is an exception of what you would see statistically across the country.
Our last thing to look at the high school level is the ACT data. One of the things to keep in mind about this particular set of data is that ACT scores lag a year. So the data that we're looking at is from the graduating class of 2018. Correct? That's 2008. You're behind 2008.
That's correct.
So
2019. When they graduated last year, but this is when they took it when they were juniors, so it is a year.
yes, we're a year behind in that data reporting. And so in talking with Dr. Catlin and discussing some of the improvements that they have already made at the high school toward raising those scores, we're not going to see the results of that for another year. And so if we look at the trend throughout the district, our data improving in every other category that we've seen thus far, I think it's a fair statement to say that our ACT data, when we get that results back for this year's cohort, are going to be on track just like the rest of our scores. Definitely there's some areas to focus on there. We realize that ACT is where our students, as they graduate, receive funding for college. And so that is a big focus this year for Dr. Catlin and his staff. The last two things to look at are some big celebrations for us. The first is for West Chester Elementary School. We want to congratulate West Chester for being honored and recognized by the State Department of Education for being a reward school. We also want to recognize we had another reward school, and that was Chester County Middle School. Some exceptional growth throughout our district this year. Lots of areas for us to celebrate successes. But as Mr. Kilzer has iterated many times, we've got great data, but we've still got places to grow. And so we're looking for that improvement. We've not yet arrived.
Good job.
Thank you.
I want to say thanks again to Mr. Randall and Mr. Stephen for their work, especially with the designs of their T-Boss. I mean, that was quite appealing, and the color scheme couldn't have not been any better, so I appreciate that. I know they put a lot of work into it, and I know that Stephen has hit the ground running since he started his new role as a testing coordinator for the district, as well as instructional technology coordinator. Of course, Randall, it's been a hat that he's worn for several years. He is very data savvy, and I enjoy learning from him when you look at the data and be able to track the work that is done by our students. Again, what is significant here is this is our students' learning. We have made considerable gains as a district. Hats off to the students for their work during that test window, but definitely for the teachers and the leaders who helped facilitate that learning. Miss Brittany and Miss Diane and Miss Annette and every others. Oh yeah, Miss Emily, and make sure I'm not missing a teacher. But Miss Amy, Mr. Tommy, Dr. Melissa and the others who have worked hard to make sure that our kids are practicing the skill set that they need to be successful. One last thing that I gave you, just because this was a late spreadsheet developed by Dr. Marlon King out of Fayette County. If you look, these are all the Southwest Tennessee districts, school districts. He did this to toot his own horn in Fayette County. But as you see here in Chester County, now this is the number of schools in the district versus the number of schools that scored 3, 4, or 5 in growth, and then of course the percentage based on that. And you can see, again, we always aspire to reach new heights in recognition, not only in the state but in the nation. But you can see that some of the names that we mentioned already about some really exceptional districts like Germantown, Arlington, Henderson County, which are very good school districts. You can see that Chester has, of the 6 schools, 5 of those scored a 3, 4, or 5, which means we're meeting the needs of our students or exceeding, which gave us an overall percentage rank of 83.3. So that puts us number 4 in Southwest Tennessee. And I would say, and I think Randall and Stephen and others, Tommy and Amy would back up, and Rick would back up too, that Southwest core area is the strongest academic districts in the state as a whole. When you look at who is doing the best, it's our core area that is really doing good work. So to be in that group and being that competitive in that group, hats off to the students, staff, leadership, and the district leadership to make that happen.
I got one quick comment. Talking about absenteeism. Did Westchester, and we're talking about the lower grades, implement some kind of a plan last year and they lowered their absenteeism greatly? Is that correct?
That's been true. Eastchester has done an outstanding job with that as well.
Okay.
Just working on it and going. And Jackson Creek didn't have as big a problem to start with, but they've all been working at it very diligently and made progress. It's just this man's got by far the hardest job on that.
They got driver's license.
It's hard to train an old you, but kind of got the habits pretty set, and he's got people that are already set into the patterns of trying to buck that system, and they have made a lot of progress, but there's just more room to go.
But you improve them at the lower grades, it's going
Their
to
habits
be
will be better when they get to the high
when we get to high
grades.
schools.
Correct. Yeah, the schools have focused on positive things to encourage those kids who are doing it right to keep doing it right. They're having to target though, and this is out of state law requirements, having to target and individually meet with those kids who already reached that level of chronic absenteeism, which is 10% of whatever given number of days. So once you go think about it, when you go 40 days of school, which we're not even at 40 yet, if a student misses 4 days of school, they're considered chronic absent. I mean, so it's a sliding scale with the percentage. It's always based on the 10%. So that 10% hopefully will diminish as we get more days under our belt. But it's a daunting task. But again, students can't learn as well as they need to if they're not there. And that's what we're trying to reach, that better threshold. And employees, it's hard to justify good production if you're not there at work. So it's building those job skills for the future. Yes, sir.
One thing I'd like to add in that we have acquired as a product to help with chronic absenteeism is the product that we were already using as a district, Remind. We've purchased a subscription to that program, and so now we're able to send out automatic text notifications to parents when their student is out of school. So if it's a situation where a parent is not aware that the student is missing school, we're working on ways to address that as well and make those notifications as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Joe.
I just can't imagine, I can, a parent not aware that your student. It's
When
not
the parents leave, go to work though.
I know it. It's a different world.
The next thing on our agenda is gonna be the recommendation from TSBA to change some of our policies. I have a motion to change.
Make a
them.
motion, we
Change
take all of them.
all
I
of them.
second.
Exactly. We have a second.
I did away with that.
Okay, all right. We have a motion to approve all the changes to TSBA. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no, and that is approved.
Number 7, where we are now. We discussed.
We got this through.
The next thing is approval contract for transitional service for students. And we have a draft for that in the packet. And I understand, Troy, all we need is a motion to approve.
It needs to be in the minutes that the board has considered recommendation to approve this contract. That's all it is. This is not the final document, but they've asked me to go ahead and make it as part of our board minutes of the board. It's called the grant contract between the State of Tennessee Department of Human Services and Chester County Schools. It's just to accept the transitional services. It is for our students with IEPs as they move out of high school into the next stage of their life, whether it's going to furthering education or going to the workplace.
Make a motion, we approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion second to approve that draft. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no, that it is approved. And the next is, we got recommendation for the charges for rentals at the facilities. We only have a list of those in here. If y'all have a
We
chance
just,
to look at
we
those.
just need that in a little more detail about the Williams Auditorium, because Shane was showing us, because I was concerned about just a flat $500 fee, was low.
Sure. Well, and again, Shane and I'm gonna let you do more speaking to me. We met a few Fridays ago, 3 Fridays ago, on the site and discussed. And again, there would be some rates, just like what we do right now. Like if anybody were to rent the cafeteria, there's not included in the rental fee itself, but there's like a custodial fee. There's also a person on site that has to be there to unlock and lock. So those additional fees ride it, but like what we have upgraded with significant dollars are lighting and our audio. We're not going to let anybody just kind of walk in and assume that they've got the skill sets to run the hours. So if they use that facility, if they use that service, which they're going to, if they're wanting to rent it, then they're also going to have to pay those additional charges for that. But you're right, Dwight, we do need to have documentation to support that. I just want to get off the
Well,
ground.
because, people come in and pay $30 for a ticket, and we're just getting $500, but Shane said.
Yeah, there can be an addendum for use of services and also for a percentage of gross ticket sales, adjusted gross ticket sales. When I helped with Jackson, it was a flat fee versus a percentage of the ticket sales. So it's whichever is higher is what the ultimate price they pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is in a document we can create with these addendums to the extra charging.
Right.
Even if somebody within the system is using the auditorium, someone will be there to run the.
There needs to be an approved list of audio and lighting technicians that we know how to run it, and nobody touches it but those people. Because if you don't do that, something's going to get unplugged. That was set up that we just paid all the money for, and nobody's going to know where to plug it back in. Let's try this, and then ultimately, you know what happens after a few events. So, there's 2 or 3 in the region, and I've talked to one specifically that could all be even like a house guy. If somebody didn't know one, we could offer him, but they would pay him. It wouldn't be included in the $500, but they would have to be somebody there that knows how to run it and how to do anything in the building before that's even unlocked and in.
We need to write up some kind of bylaws or something, don't we? Or not?
Well, and the nonprofits, that fee there's fine for local nonprofits, but there's a lot of out-of-county nonprofits that used to.
Well, and again,
I
I
mean,
know
the
Norris
beauty
asked me-
pageants are nonprofit, that used to be.
Yeah, well, very few pageants are going to rent it for $250, $500. But yeah, you're right. You can change it just like we have local schools.
Yeah,
It's free.
local nonprofit.
Local nonprofits, it's $250. Outside the county, it's $500. The general fee.
Yeah, these are just guidelines that Shane and I come up with. This is no way saying that this has got to be it or nothing.
I mean, I would say this is inexpensive regionally, but kind of our mindset is to get on the map, because once it's on the map, it will be used as much as you want to let it be used. But we also have to keep in mind it is a public building that we need to let our community use for our public events. You know, it doesn't just need to be an event venue. There's a fine line of it being both, and it will be. But you want it to be affordable to be used, but you want it to also be understood that it's competitive with the other similar buildings in the region, and it is. Civic Center is $1,500 in Jackson, but it's 3,000 seats. The Ned's $700, but it's 450 seats. So we're cheaper than that, but it's going to draw stuff here that would normally go there. After a year, we can revisit these rates and always go up if the demand mandates it. It's my thought, to get on the map, to be a place that things want to come.
Who coordinates events at the Williams Auditorium?
Well, sometimes the call starts with the middle school, but it eventually comes back to us for the final approval.
Well, I was wondering who coordinates.
We started that last year. Was the board changed? The board required through action to change to where we bear that responsibility. Now, not to say that people don't call Tommy or call the middle school office, and they start the paperwork, and we have forms that we use for the current use right now. But then it has to eventually get to us for approval. But that's true for Ricky's place too with the cafeteria use. It has to go through us also.
Could I ask, is concession stand a possibility for the new venue or no? Can you have concessions to eat inside the new, all the work that's been done in there? Would that be allowed for the concession stand to be set up?
Well, now it's tile floor, so there's no carpet in there anymore, so it should be a little bit easier to keep clean. But now the seats are carpeted, so they're cloth fabric.
I mean, I know people some people may want to have concession stands.
Well, they've been, that's been the that's been the protocol in the past, so I'm sure they're going to want to continue to do that. But the flooring should make it a little bit easier than what we've had before. Jolly Rancher.
Show me like the additional fees. That's what I want to say. On the additional fees, if you got like maps already for that, or I don't know if you kind of.
We can create that. Again, I showed Mr. Kills our document we had in the city of Jackson, and I did the same thing for them, a few years ago. And there's a form that you give any promoter or anyone who wants to use the building. That's an addendum. If you need a stagehand, it's this much per hour. If you need a lighting director, it's this much an hour. If you need to use our sound system, it's this much an hour with approved sound tech. So we just need to create that, which I have a guideline. I just haven't done it until we kind of got this started.
We need to get off the ground with this.
Right.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
For tonight's purposes, I make a motion that we approve the rates as they've been presented.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion second that we approve these rates presented. Any other discussions?
No, but I'd like to see the others, but.
Okay,
We can have that for next week.
We'll have that next meeting.
Okay, all right, and any other discussion?
And just so you know, there's already a minimum of 10 to 12 events between September and some of those haven't been publicly announced, but some major events between September and March. That includes our local performing arts. That includes, I met with Mary Hicks, I met with Becky Hartle, I met with Emily Emily Johnson, met with, talked on the phone with Jason Bramlett. All the community partners know that this isn't one person. This is a community building that we want to see used to the best, and everybody is going to join together to put events in there. And there's already 10 to 12 significant events over the next 6 to 8 months.
I would also like to say Shane took some initiative, a lot of initiative. He's got a Twitter account, got a website.
Built a website.
For Williams Auditorium. What's the website? WilliamsAuditorium.com. And then we are maintaining internally a calendar so that everybody is speaking about the same dates and times. and that's being shared with the building principals and also with Shane and myself. So there's no overlap or no overbooking of any of the weekends or event dates. It's good work.
All in favor of approving these fees, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. That is approved. All right, next thing on here is going to be the recommendation for the exam exemption. And I believe Dr. Catlett wanted to speak to us on that.
Yes, sir, thank you so much. Should I stand?
Whatever you want to do, sir.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Ms. Griffin and Seeds because I want to explain some of the things that we've done with attendance so that you understand what that is. But last year, one of their goals was to help with attendance for us. So we appreciate that. We've got a deal coming up in the next month or so. Get yourself into school. We got our shirts yesterday, and the kids are out there by the front cafeteria taking pictures. They've got a frame, and it sounds pretty simple, but I mean they really enjoyed getting their photos made, their pictures made. We put it up on the wall and all that. And also we gave incentives, $50, $25, $100. A lot of businesses in the community supported us with that. We thank them for doing that. So we're really focusing on that. And the way this thing works is when they get through unexcused absence, the letter goes home. Ms. Henderson calls anytime somebody misses a period in a day. She calls the parents and says, you know that Ricky's not in first period, which takes a lot of time, to do that because we have people that are, going here and writing a note and taking a test in second period. So it's a process when you got 850 students to manage, every day. It's a work that we all got to be together on, and they got to report them and check their attendance and all that, and it leads into what I'm going to request for you today. But in 5 absences, unexcused absences, I meet with that child, sign a contract, and meet with that parent. And all the other administrators are doing the same thing. So it's not that we're doing something different, but it's a state mandate that we do. So we got notebooks that set aside, and we're calling, we're checking every 10 days, following up with those students and saying, you got to come to school, we have to come to school. That being said, we've made a dent in it, but still our economic disadvantaged children, our students with disabilities are still pretty high on the attendance chronic rate. So what we want to do, and what we want to ask you to consider, trimester exam, we would like to do this just the first trimester. I made an announcement, and I kind of put the out around my block, and I told Coach but I've already talked to the students about it, and I've talked to our teachers about it, because the first trimester of 60 days was getting by. So what I said is on August 16th, so we're going to try to get this procedure in place to where if you come to school the rest of the time, the 60th day, we'll create an exam, the teachers will create an exam, and you'll take a trimester exam. So anything they've missed up to the 16th is a grace one. So what we're asking is they get 1 excused absence from now until November the 1st. If they get an unexcused absence, ball game's over with, they're going to take the exam. If they get 2 excused absence, that's more than 1, so they're going to have to take the midterm exam. So all our teachers are on board with it. They're going to, I think it's another test that they're going to have to create. The thing is the test is cumulative from the first trimester. What we're asking to do is just give us a try for it, to let us try to see if that puts a dent in our absentee rate. Now, when Mr. Skills was principal there, they did that this semester, I think, so it was a little longer time, and maybe a little different thing. They had grades incorporated in with that. Right now, all we're trying to work on, folks, is on their attendance, specific attendance, and trying to encourage those students to get there. Now, if you have a child that has a medical condition that is out of their control, we're going to look at that and make those adjustments. Okay? It's not trying to hurt anybody. It's trying to encourage them to get yourself to school. But the educator expectations final exam trimester should assess the objectives taught in that trimester. If someone has perfect attendance already and they want to get a graduation recognized for being perfect, having perfect attendance, we're going to ask those students they can come and sit for the trimester exam. if they do poorly on that exam, it does not affect their grade. Or they can go to job shadow, go to a college day, go to someplace like that. That would count them just like they were at school, so it won't affect them in a negative way either. So it's really a win-win for everybody, because we can check their knowledge of the first trimester in the first 58 days, 59 days. And there's going to be some turnaround on grading, because November 1st is the last day of the first trimester, and the report cards are the next Friday. So we're saying Wednesday of the next week, we have to have everything in and graded, so we can add that to that first trimester grade. So again, it's just the first trimester we're asking to consider, just giving us a chance to do it that first time and see if it'll work out. If it doesn't, we may still have a problem, and I mean, we go and pick them up. We've gone to houses and picked them up, brought them to school, and we'll continue to do that. But sometimes they don't like getting in trouble, because it's a mentality of we want them to come to school, and we want to have a good experience at school, and let the school be high school and get involved in things too. So that's what we're asking for, just for you to consider that.
Doc, they had a copy of the same thing that you have.
Yes,
Does any board members have any question over this document?
It sounds good to me, and I think it's worth trying, anything.
And it's just trial run this first trimester, and then we'll go back and revisit it after November
Yes, sir.
to see how the success is.
At the bottom of the exam exemption determination, if they have an AP test, they have a dual enrollment test, that doesn't exempt them. It's totally our classes and our teachers. So we're not trying to tell Freed Hardeman how to operate, or Jackson State, or UT Martin what to do. We're just asking, for our own.
And this won't exempt any state tests.
No.
All those are still required by law to take.
No.
I make a motion.
And I tell you this, they're talking about it. They're already asking. They come up and say, do I need to have my orthodontist appointment? I said, sure, it needs to be after school.
So do I have a motion, we have a second?
Second.
All right, and also I just want to ask a question here. We're approving for try this first semester. Ricky, it's good. Do you want to go ahead and try? Do we need to?
Well, let's wait and see here, and then he can let us know how it went at our November meeting, and then we can.
Yes, sir.
This would require about 3 board policy changes. So that's why I want to say, let's start with the trial, see how well it does, and then if it comes after November 1, everything's going like we hope it is, then we can go back and change the policies at that time.
Please let us know at our November board meeting.
Correct.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We'll try it. Dr. Kevin. Still have to be this.
I'm telling you.
All right, the only other thing on here, we got a few updates, and we've already talked about Williams Auditorium. I'm glad to see that there's polls going up for the baseball thing and softball.
And softball.
Yeah, both places are getting some things.
And you scoreboard.
Scoreboard field. We'll be playing that tomorrow night. Does everybody check the scoreboard?
Tonight.
Oh,
It's working tonight.
Good. That's right, Thursday night.
Nice, thank you for helping us with that. Really, they've added some small signs to the bottom, you seen?
I've seen the scoreboard, but I hadn't looked at the sign. Looks good.
Looks
Looks really good. That's the first new scoreboard we've probably had in 20, 25 years.
Not been longer than that.
Since a new one, you're right. We've had them, but we've just been a used one. So that's really looks good.
The Wolverines came from my.
Yeah. That's when they started putting face masks on.
Anybody else got anything else to bring up or talk about?
On these vans,
Yes, sir.
is there not something like the state surplus where we could?
That's a possibility, yes.
Because I know
All I
other
did was
counties
just
are
see
buying
it.
stuff from the state surplus.
Correct.
And even old military.
Well, if you remember from our last board meeting, what we were gonna do is confirm what size was gonna be acceptable. And you had 2 letters from, well, 1 letter from for Tennessee Risk Management, and then he actually sent the additional document that he had given those districts that they knew were using vans. It has to be 10 passenger, including the driver. That's the only thing. It's considered personal vehicles. Anything larger than that has to be a school bus. So all I did was just seek out one, just get kind of a quote. And of course, if you go higher on the mileage, the cheaper on the rate. So, but yes, they say.
What was it that you got a quote on?
It was a quote, it was included here, quote on anything that's 10 passenger, including the driver, which is usually 8 passengers. Anything with like 60 to 80,000 miles was the kind of the range that we talked about, and he gave anything between $15,000 to $20,000. Of course, nowadays, you know, getting 200,000 miles is not uncommon. So, you know, that's considered now lower mileage. But the higher mileage you accept, the cheaper the rate would be. Hey, I don't know about donations.
Take 20,000.
I'll think about it. I'll let you know in about 15 more seconds.
Aren't some of the dealerships, when you buy a vehicle, used vehicle also, isn't it warranty for?
It just depends on whatever warranty they got with it.
No, there's some that kind of.
You have to pay them.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
I do want to announce that our next meeting will be September the 26th, and it will be here at the Board of Education. Any other